Got a little history lesson for you there. Over 30. Morning. Cowboy Enterprises, ITD, Jack in the Box, and Mount Carmel School down in beautiful Honkin. Good morning. Our tomorrow playlist also brought to you by Mount Carmel School in Hoggett again, 671-565-5128. Let's go ahead and get into our in-studio guests here from the Guam Environmental Protection Agency. We have the Public Information Officer, Mr. Nick Lee, and also the Chief Engineer of the agency, Captain Brian Bearden. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Thank you for joining us. So you guys are here because there's been an enforcement action that was levied against a environmental violator, and that action has been completed. In English, basically, that means that this company that you guys hit with a big fine has completed paying that off?
That's correct.
Right on. So give us the backstory, if you don't mind.
Well, Brian's division,
Right.
which is the water division, conducted 2 inspections along a construction site in Polaris Point in Petey. The issues with that site was the lack of BMPs, and then Brian can get into
Just so you guys know, the BMPs, again, layman's terms.
Best
Nick.
management practices. Right. Typically, you are responsible for all of your project stormwater runoff, and installing BMPs like silt fences are requirements for most construction projects.
Marble Cave.
Right, and anytime you're doing earth-moving work, that's a major requirement, and Brian can get into that.
You're right, yeah. But to me, the big deal about this is the BMPs. It's kind of like when you go to a site, it's like one of the most basic measures that you put in place, like you said, to control the stormwater runoff. And I don't believe it's something that nobody knows about, right? I mean, it's pretty common knowledge for any significant project.
Competent contractors should know that. It's much cheaper to pay for labor and material to install a BMP than it is to pay a fine. And I think that's, with the rainy season ahead of us, the community is going to be watching, based on their concern for any runoff that's going to impact the environment. So that's something that we will be closely monitoring.
Captain, let's get into this. Like, if you could just explain BMPs, how important they are, and what are they, when in place, what are they protecting us from?
Well, sure, Chris. BMP stands for Best Management Practices, and in the case of a construction site, there are things that keep the sediment on the site, right? So a silt fence is designed to basically filter that runoff that leaves the site and keep that soil on site instead of in the road or in the water. At this particular project, we had received some complaints, and our staff checked it out, and they had installed BMPs in some places, but if you ever drive past, if the public's listening and you drive past a construction site and you see a silt fence up, but if you can see daylight under that silt fence, it's not installed right. The water runs off right underneath that. That was the case in this situation, and so we took action at that time.
Let's get into what it is in that runoff, what could be in that runoff or any runoff on any construction site.
Sure. During construction, it's mostly going to be sediment. It's going to be soil, and that can be pretty devastating to natural ecosystems. It can also clog up the island storm sewer system, which then leads to flooding, gets on people's properties as a nuisance. There's a lot of issues. Post-construction, though, we also regulate that, and that's where we start getting into the red flag warnings you see at the beach and stuff, and that's why we also, when we permit these projects, it's not just the erosion we're looking at the post-construction as well. So if you hear about us holding people's permits for a long time, usually it's for us trying to make sure that that design is all in place, that that project, after it's completed, will not contribute to our water quality problems that we have on Guam.
Are you guys surprised, though, at how often this happens? And is it because we've kind of been under this pandemic bubble that, maybe contractors are, taking shortcuts? What's the deal? Because it's happened a lot. I mean, obviously the most glaring example is up at the Mount Marble Cave area.
That's correct. No, I am surprised at how poor compliance is in Guam. It was really rather shocking to me to get here and see that. We've been trying to get to that through a number of efforts, and we can talk about that if you want to hear about that. But I don't think the pandemic was a reason. It was happening before the pandemic, and we're trying hard to try to change that.
Well, what is it, man? Is it willful? Nick, is it just people don't give a damn. They're like, oh, Guam EPA is not going to catch us.
I think you got to start from the beginning. There are projects that occur on Guam that don't go through the permitting process from the get-go. In some cases, that happens. And as you pointed out, if you have a less reputable contractor working on your project, the temptation to cut costs and increase your profits on that project is great.
Right.
But in the end, it's not worth it. You will get caught, and your project, once it's complete, might not be of the quality that you expect from the contractor. So those are things that we really have to look out for.
Right. And just in the back, so we had the Marble Cave one, and then I saw you guys had also issued another NOV further up to another contractor. Was it also for BMP violations? Are you familiar with the one I'm talking about?
This might be the one in Manila.
Yeah, it was also in Manila.
Yeah, those
clearing and grading.
I think it was maybe UMS. Maybe.
Well, we had one in Manila right along Route 10,
right.
and it was to two companies. It was the owner of the lot,
that's
JJ Pacific Enterprises, and then to the contractor, Primos.
Okay.
And they had actually done that work without a permit.
Wow.
And we stopped them 3 times, and they continued to work each time, so we came after them.
Right.
And that's still in progress, though. So one of the things that we're doing is trying to get these processes set up within our office to handle appeals, because both of those, one of them appealed. We just recently got our contract finally approved through the Attorney General's office for the hearing officers. So we're all set up now to push those forward and try to close those out.
What's the average fine here that we're looking at? Because I know this one we're talking about this morning took several years to close out, right? So and these other instances where you're pinging people for these BMP violations, what is like the average fine, or does it vary case to case?
It varies case to case, and there's a few factors of the type of infraction that you've committed and the number of days that you're found in to be non-compliant. The rules are different now. At the time that these NOVs were issued, the statutory maximum for violating soil and erosion control regulations was $125,000. Right, but thanks to Speaker Therese Terlahi, who was able to pass a bill into law to remove that cap, the fines could be greater because we now have that flexibility, to calculate based on non-compliance.
Let me ask you, Cap, about the fines and how and you were telling me that you guys can get creative, and sometimes where you might ding a violator with like a, let's just say $100,000 fine, they might do like a part cash, a part value for that, right? And so you were telling me the Trades Academy, are we actually teaching people how to install BMPs, and that's being paid for by someone who was given a notice of violation for not installing BMPs? Oh, the irony.
Yes, yeah, that's correct. Actually, in this case, though, it was working without a permit, so it was considered to be more of a administrative violation. So we were then able to use Guam EPA's existing, it's called SEP policy, SEP, Supplemental Environmental Projects, to then convert a large percentage of that fine into a public service. And our idea was to provide that funding to the Trades Academy to conduct this course, which was prepared, I think, back in 2017. It's based on Guam's regulations and laws, and it teaches contractors not just what those laws are, but how to physically install the silt fences, how to do the work, how to get out in the field, dig those things in by hand.
Right.
It's a great class, and this funding, I think, was about $120,000 that was provided to the Trades Academy.
Wow.
It's good for, I forget the number, but it's over 300 people can go through this class now. And by the end of this year, we're going to require that of all contractors, just as a condition to get their permit. It's written into the manual that Guam EPA is implementing, but it hasn't been implemented until this year.
Wow.
So by the end of this year, every contractor is supposed to show proof that they've finished that training or a similar training to get a permit from us.
Nick, can we talk a little about the SEPs? Because I know before you guys had come on, I was talking about the story. I did a story on the former administrator, Eric Palacios, and it really showed like how much leeway the administrator had. And I was talking about a case where they had pinged somebody with a notice of violation, and instead of having them pay the whole fine, he was like, oh, renovate our bathroom, and we'll let you slide or whatever. But I mean, that being the bad end of an example, The good one in other cases I've seen is where you guys ping somebody with an NOV and they pay like half cash, or they put like a dumpster out for at a site, right?
Right.
So just talk about the SCPs and how you guys can get creative with that, and it means a benefit to the public.
Sure. I mean, the key word there is a community benefit. Those days are gone. I can tell you that right now.
No more letting you slide for changing the toilet seat at Guam EPA.
Those days are gone. I can't speak to the prior administrator's thought process in approving that type of SEP, but there was an NOV where it was based on a solid waste complaint,
right.
And part of this respondent's settlement had him provide I think 20 dumpsters at different cleanup projects. So, I know we get fixated on the dollar amount,
right,
of a penalty order. Versus the value that can be brought from offsetting that.
Sure, but I think I don't know, fixated. People just want to see people who are messing with our environment. They want to see them pay a heavy price for it.
Sure.
That's what it is. It's not that we just want to see $100,000 fine. We want to make sure that people are getting the message that you mess with Guam, we're going to mess with you.
Right,
hard.
and that's that is happening. We do need to put that message out. But as a regulatory authority, we do have to respect the due process.
Yeah.
It's not just about dinging people, but
sure.
It's making people understand why compliance is important. I mean, you have to fix what you messed up.
Yeah.
The fine is the fine is a separate issue. But one of the things that we do with the respondent is work with them to correct what they've done.
Right.
And
that's baseline part of anything, is that they have to foot the bill for the cleanup, right?
Oh, at the very least, that's going to be in there. Yeah.
When you talk about these violators paying for these BMP courses and stuff, is there like any kind of disclaimer that says this course was paid for by this company that violated this? Because I think that'd be great to kind of like add that shame factor in there. It works. I worked in my generation.
I'm not sure if that's
or if the X a company X who spilled 30 gallons of diesel is providing the dumpsters for this cleanup. You know what I mean?
Well, it's at the discretion of the of the respondent. If it's structured in their settlement agreement that they want to be able to take credit for what they're doing, then we'll honor that. And if it's not expressly stated in the settlement agreement, then we're not going to require them to do that.
Right.
But it's still public information.
You're right. In any case, you can go on the website, because of Speaker Turlai's bill. All these NOVs are posted up on the website. So for the sake of transparency, maybe you won't know which company is footing the bill for whatever, because of whatever violations they committed. But you would at least be able to look at the NOVs that a lot of times, Cap, you're writing up, right?
In a lot of cases, yes, and these are. And I'd like to bring up another tool that we have that we plan to start implementing this year. So these big NOVs that we do, they are major projects. They take up a lot of time, a lot of manpower. The Samsung Marbo situation took up huge amounts of my time, which is another penalty to the public, right? Because we're not able to then process people's permits. We're not able to do the other work we're supposed to do while we're doing this. So one of the other tools that we have in that erosion control law, which is actually regulations, but it's passed as law, is something called field citations. And we've never implemented that because it requires us to build a program, have our board of directors pass it. But what that would be is something similar to traffic tickets, where our inspectors can go out on the site and just issue something, a smaller fine, maybe in the hundreds of dollars range, for example, not putting in their silt fences correctly. That then gives us the ability to not just do 5 or 6 big NOVs a year, but potentially do dozens or hundreds of these smaller fines out there to get the word out and try to get these contractors doing the right thing.
Right.
Because it's like I said, it's very surprising to me that they're just not following these rules.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe part of it is they think that you guys aren't enforcing it because maybe they're not hearing about all these people you're pinging, which is where we as the media come in, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Thanks for getting this on the air.
No problem. We've got to wrap it up. I got a whole bunch of people. Nick, I got to tell you, my last day's tomorrow. I don't know if you heard.
Yeah, I call into that. Yeah.
There's... but I just want to say it's you've been, like I said before you came on, you've been pretty decent about providing information. I know that I've given you a hard time covering the environment, but it's really just only been in the name of the environment. So I appreciate our relationship, man. It's been good.
I'm gonna miss you, but I'm pretty sure you've shared your your work experience.
Yes,
with whoever's coming in.
Someone here is going to be giving you a hard time, even if I'm going to be gone.
Yeah, but the way I look at it, I mean, you got some young blood here. Like
yes,
you've probably got more experience in broadcast than they've been alive. So but
way to make me feel old. Thank you,
all right,
Captain. Thank you.
Thanks.
And keep up the good work.
And thanks and congratulations on your excellent career here.
Thank you. There you go. Thank you. Appreciate that. Captain Brian Bearden, of course, Nick Lee, Guam EPA spokesperson. We got to take a quick break. We're coming back. Actually, funny story with the oversight for Guam EPA, Senator Sabina Perez. So we'll get her thoughts on this conversation. And we always like to bring her on to round robin. She's got a lot of great agencies under her oversight. And then we're also she just pulled up here in the parking lot. We're going bipartisan this morning. We're going both ways here. We got Democrat Senator Sabina Perez and Republican Senator Tello Taitagui. Coming up on The Link, which is brought to you by Calvo Enterprises, IT&E, Jack in the Box, and Mount Carmel School. Good morning. The show continues next.